Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gunpowder and Freedom. So we're here at my house again and really making progress with this whole garage thing that we're building, and that's where we're at. We got the block foundation laid actually yesterday, so I don't know when this video is coming out, but it's been a day. I ended up calling a friend of mine who does masonry work and asking him if this is something that he could handle for me. He said no problem at all, we'll get it squared away. And you know, he was able to do it a lot faster and a lot nicer than I would be able to. As much as I wanted to do it, I do need it done, and I do have a lot of work on the schedule for, you know, my dad as well as myself, and I'm trying to get up to the property here to keep moving forward with the new build. So I figured, yeah, let me get a professional in here to do that and help get it squared away. So let me show you what we have going on today. So now that the foundation has been laid, you know, I did have to apologize to him. That wasn't one of my best footer jobs that I've ever done, but he did say that it wasn't all that bad. Whenever I did do the footer, that was kind of right in the heart of me battling COVID. I got this side set, and then I think I made it to right about here. And I just got super lightheaded. I almost passed out like 3 times. I couldn't even think that day. So I didn't have a rake, I didn't have a float. I should not have done that day while I was going through everything I was going through with COVID. That put me through the ringer. So I did know that this back corner here was a little bit high. He said it wasn't all that bad. I just fluffed in some extra mortar down at the bottom here. Really hooked me up. I did tell Dawn not to worry about extending the wall past here for the retaining wall that I'm going to be building, just because I do know that this footer, I kind of just said screw that after I got this side kind of set. So I do know that this corner is relatively higher, probably by an inch or two, than right here. So I didn't want to give him any grief or anything like that, or give him a job that was going to be a headache to try to make that nice. So whenever we pour the floor, I'm going to have a wall formed up here so that we can just pour that as well, and that'll be concrete. That way we'll have the garage door here. Floor height will be right about here, so the driveway is going to taper out, so any exposed retaining wall here is going to get stone veneer on it whenever I go to finish all this, and that's the plan there. But first, what we need to do is we need to waterproof the outside of this wall in front of here, and then re-waterproof that. I did put expansion foam in all of those holes to seal those up nice and tight. There was another one there, so I filled that guy up. We got all the holes filled, all the cracks are filled. So I'm going to go ahead and scrape this wall as well and get that re-waterproofed, just because, like I said, the new driveway will be roughly here, tapering down, and although we'll have a lot of fall coming out for the water, I want to make sure everything underneath the concrete is nice and waterproofed so that I don't ever have to worry about that again. So I know I'm only going to be here for another 3 or 4 years, but even the next homeowners, I don't want them to have to worry about this, so they can, whoever buys this house in 3 or 4 years, you can look back on these videos and know that I'm trying to do everything the right way and not cut corners. So now that that's all done, we're going to go ahead, pop the lid off our 5-gallon bucket of, what is this, fibered roof and foundation coating, and get this all sealed up. Okay, so there it is. The foundation walls, as well as this wall here, are waterproofed with a foundation slash roofing tar, fiber tar material. Now the fiber's there to keep the tar from breaking apart, and the tar itself, it'll dry to the point where it's not like tacky, but it is flexible. So should things want to shift and move ever so slightly, just like concrete, it has that room to do that. It has that flexibility to do so without actually ripping apart and no longer being waterproofed. So now that we have that done, we'll let it dry. I have right here behind me, I have 100 feet of socked French drain pipe that we are going to start running actually right here, right there, and then we'll carry it down around the foundation wall and down that side there. Let me see where I'm pointing, and then we'll tie it in to the existing French drain that I have running through the yard. Now, like I said, I will have sorry, my air conditioner just kicked on. I will be pouring a solid concrete wall right here for, you know, just added water protection. So we'll just kind of have to leave this end of the French drain pipe loose so that we can kind of maneuver it out of our way as I'm forming and as we're pouring. Then once we pull all the lumber and everything from that wall, then we'll be able to set the drain back in. And by set it back in, I mean just kind of bend it back down, fill it with gravel, and then that French drain will be done. This is the tricky part. Like I said, I have 2 triaxle loads of number 3 limestone sitting right there. That's probably overkill, but any extra I can just truck over to the property and use it there. But I'm going to put that down first to get a nice solid base. Once I get that in, I'll run the tamper around it, make sure that's nice and compacted. Now when we do this next to foundation walls, we do stay about a foot or 2 away from the walls themselves. That way, as the tamper pushes that stone down, it doesn't push and blow out any walls. The tricky part is that with cinder block wall, you have to kind of do both sides at once. So what I'm going to end up having to do is get probably 10 ton of river rock loaded and put in just enough limestone here to get over in the skid loader, kind of do a row, just kind of a base of number 3 limestone, get a bucket of the river rock, dump it over the wall, and then just kind of work my way up. So I do need some more parking area here, but you know, it's one of those things that you just kind of have to work with. You work with the space you have, so it's going to be tricky, but we'll figure it out. So I would like to get the French drain pipe in tomorrow, as well as get the piping run for the downspouts that we are going to have coming off the new roof here. It's not there yet, but I would like to get that stuff done. And then hopefully at some point in time this weekend, I'll have time to start getting that number 3 limestone in, at least build a ramp, and neighbors are home, sorry. At least build a ramp and just get some sort of progress going here. You know, I know this might not look like much to a lot of people, but to me, I'm really excited. This is progressing a lot faster than I thought it was going to, and I'm just really excited to never have any water issues here again. So I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. Okay, so we got our nice ditch dug for our French drain system. I had a chunk of dirt fall in there. Everything's going downhill, and this is one thing I wanted to point out. Now, a couple years ago, I had a couple springs coming through the yard here, so I put in a French drain here, and I couldn't remember exactly where, but I knew it was somewhere in this area. So I just hit the limestone that I use for backfilling. So we're going to go ahead and stop our ditch there. That way the water will follow the pipe and our stone down this ditch and work its way into this French drain system, which runs all down this hill on the other side of the shed down into the lake down there. So we're going to go ahead and run that pipe and start backfilling. Okay, so backfilling is going pretty much as I expected it to. It's a little bit slower process, especially working with cinder block. Now, if this was concrete, you really wouldn't have to worry about anything. You can come in here, you can get nice and close to the wall, you can push your gravel up against it, and you really don't have to worry about much other than, you know, running into it with the skid loader. Then you'll end up with a crack. With cinder block, you do have to bring up both sides relatively on the even side. That way you don't get a ton of weight up against it, pushing it. You want to keep these walls nice and straight, keep those mortar joints intact. Most importantly, keep your tar coating on the outside nice and safe and protected. That way nothing breaks, nothing pushes, everything remains straight for your framing. The next thing I need to do is all of this Schedule 40 piping over here. I picked it up for my downspout drains, and yes, I said Schedule 40. But yes, I said Schedule 40 pipe. Most commonly used for downspout systems is thin wall pipe. It's cheap, it's somewhat reliable, it gets the job done. But with my current situation that I have here, I wanted to make sure I had some extra protection, so I spent a little bit more money and got Schedule 40. That way, if this dirt ever pushes, if I ever get an excess amount of weight up against this wall, I want to make sure these pipes never break, they never crack, they never leak, because if they do, now I'm relying on the French drain to not only dispose of the water that's coming off this hillside, but also dispose of the water that is leaking out of the pipe that the roof is catching. So for anybody that's going to say that's overkill, it's a waste of money, it's fine. I would rather do things overdone rather than underdone. That way the next owners, they never have to worry about water issues the way I'm having to worry about it right now. So that's the plan. We're going to go ahead and get this pipe set up. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to come in a foot off of each corner. My drop in is going to be roughly right there, and then a foot away from that side. I'm going to have two drops coming off this roof here because it is going to be a little bit larger of a roof. I want to make sure all the water is being collected. I don't want it flowing over top of the gutter, falling onto the ground. And then also I wanted to leave myself a little bit of room so that whenever I form up this little retaining wall here, I have somewhere to anchor my boards onto to get a nice straight wall. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get everything laid out and get cutting and gluing. Hopefully get this wrapped up today. Okay, so I'm going to let this elbow tighten up a little bit more. Then I can drop that down into the ditch. I'm going to go ahead and get all this stuff cleaned up now that I don't need like all my plumbing stuff. My little multi-tool. Looks like we got some rain pushing in. That would be the first time it's rained in probably like a month now. So I'm going to get that stuff cleaned up. Then I'm going to finish backfilling. I got a little bit more stone. Probably looks like another 15 ton or so. So I'm definitely going to have to order some more stone, but the next load of stone that I get is going to be 2B limestone. That way it'll top everything real nice in here. After I get this finished off and backfilled and leveled off a little bit better, I am going to tamp this. I brought our plate tamper down, so I'm going to go ahead and run that over this a bunch of times. Now I have been tracking this in a little bit with the machine, so that's been helping with the compaction, but I still should tamp it. So we'll do that. We'll get more stone ordered tomorrow when the supply yard's open. We'll get that in here, we'll tamp that. Okay, everybody, there it is. French drain in, backfilled with number 3 limestone for some protection from this hillside. We ran the downspout drain all the way over there and wrapped it around into our French drain ditch. Backfilled it again, all while simultaneously filling up this whole area with number 3 limestone. Now I put down number 3 limestone first because it compacts real nice. Once you actually track it in, number 3s don't move all that much. It's limestone, so it's real jaggedy, so they lock together. Even though there wasn't much movement, I still decided to run it over with the plate tamper a couple times. To get this stuff to move with the plate tamper, it's you know, it's one of those things where some people say you don't need to, other people say you have to tamp everything. But again, I wanted to kind of do things the right way. That way I don't cause any issues later on down the road for myself or the future homeowners of this house once we decide to sell it. So I figured, what the heck, it was only going to take another 10 minutes. ran the tamper both ways, back and forth as well as side to side, to make sure it was as tamped as, good as possible. The next step is to get a triaxle load of 2B limestone to top everything with, and then we'll tamp that again. We'll set that for our height. I have a big steel beam from a building I ripped down over there that we're going to go ahead and throw along this wall here. What that's going to do is it's going to give the concrete a nice place to sit, a nice sturdy place to sit, as well as keep some of the weight off the house. Sorry about that. The concrete's going to have to push against that beam, and the beam's going to have to push against the house. So we just feel like that's a really good safety precaution there, just with this being an older house. Trying to, just make sure this floor doesn't ever shift. So once we get that done, the next step is to fill in the French drain ditch the rest of the way. Cover that up with dirt, get plastic and rebar in here, and then we're ready for concrete. So that's exciting. When we're pouring the floor, we're going to go ahead and fill all of these cells. We're going to fill all these cells first to fill this wall. It's going to be a solid wall, and then we'll flip our plastic over just to keep some separation there. That way the floor is not interlocked with the wall. So in that way, if something does want to shift even, a millimeter, something as small as that, it has the freedom to do so. It's not locked in, because as soon as you lock the concrete into a wall like this, if something wants to move a little bit, it's going to crack. So we try to eliminate those sort of things when we can. So yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but if you noticed when I was putting in the downspout pipe, I made sure that as I was running it, all of the lettering on the pipe is facing up. That way later on down the road, should the next homeowners decide they need to dig that up and redo something or add on to something, they can dig that pipe up and they can see the lettering right on top, so they know, hey, the previous guy used schedule 40, so that's what we need to do. We need to, all of our fittings or piping needs to be schedule 40 to mate up with that. So that's something my dad taught me, something I plan on teaching my kids, because I think that's something that's, doesn't take much more effort, but it really helps everybody out in the long run. So I think that's where I'm going to end this video. I feel like we're probably getting a little lengthy, so I want to thank you guys for tuning back in to another episode of Gunpowder and Freedom. If you liked what you saw, please click the like and subscribe. Don't forget to like us on Instagram, and don't forget to check out our store on Etsy. So on the next video, we'll be finalizing this garage pad with our 2B limestone, getting it ready for concrete, and hopefully pouring it. So can't wait for that. I'll see you guys back here then. Have a good day.